We should now be live.
Okay, we are live.
All right. Thanks, Sally. Zach, we will now call the December 2nd, 2020 Executive Committee public hearing to order. First item on the agenda is the roll call. Zach?
All right. When I call your name, please signify that you're here by saying present. Jackson Bogan.
Present.
Tom Murtaugh. Absent. Gary Schroeder. Present. Gary Reynolds.
Here.
Carl Griffin.
This conference
Present.
will now be recorded.
Larry Lebrons.
Present.
Greg Jones.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Approval of the minutes. Gary?
I move to approve the minutes from the November 4th, 2020 meeting as submitted.
Second that.
The motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. New business.
I move to hear and approve resolution PD 20-08.
Second.
All right. Ryan?
Okay, I think everyone can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm doing half a dozen things at once here. Okay, let's get into this case. So you all may recall the Providence planned development over on the southwest side of campus, large sprawling area, largely lower density residential with some mixed use elements to it. The first installment came through not too long ago. And if you've been out that way, it's under construction. They're doing the vast bulk of the multifamily that was planned and the commercial element, which is going to be in the northeast corner of the site, as well as some spec homes, single-family detached homes was a part of the second phase. So this resolution is concerning essentially virtually the rest of phase two. We're calling it phase two, part two. Part one was the grouping of spec homes. You'll see them here in the on this slide in the lower left corner, collection of 5 home sites. They've moved on and they're ready to basically do the rest of this section, sans a couple areas, and I will make note of those. On this plat, you'll notice in the top left corner, there's an outlot A. There is some floodplain that was brought to the attention of the developer that was missed during the original review of the site. It was not dedicated floodplain. It wasn't FP zoned, but the floodplain administrator identified this and they are working with DNR to certify that area out. It's a very, very small area and it just clips that lot, which was originally going to be lot 1. If once they're done with the state's process and they certify that floodplain out, that land will essentially be available to be platted as lot 1 as originally planned. So they're going to leave it off this plat for the time being until that process is wrapped up. That'll at least clear them to do obviously the vast bulk of what you see here and on these other sites here on the eastern side. They're going to be doing some more single family attached townhomes and some more multifamily close to Airport Road. They are leaving out a section right adjacent to Airport Road and south of the new District Boulevard. So that would likely come in as a phase 2, part 3 or 4, depending on how they decide to do this. But once that area along Airport Road and that lone little lot 1 are finally platted, this phase 2 will be complete. And that should keep them busy for a while. As you may recall, this is a multi-phase project. I believe it goes up to 7 or 8 phases. But these first 2 installments, the multifamily and then all these single family attached and detached homes, really are the big bulk of the project, the residential element of the project. So they are requesting bonding, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we are recommending approval of resolution PD 2008.
Thanks, Ryan. Petitioner's representative, wish to speak? Everybody do a quick search. I don't see anybody on this, so, okay. I think we're good. Any questions, comments for Ryan? With that, we'll give a 30-second pause, starting my timer right now.
Jackson, while we're waiting for any public comment on that case, I'd like you to know that there are several people in the meeting room, and there will be at least one person likely to speak on S 4958 Moulter 4 subdivision, and at least one to speak on S 4959 Bluffs of Buck Creek subdivision.
Thank you, Sally.
We have a laptop set up on the other side of the room for them to use, so it'll take a minute as people traverse the room and get settled in.
Great. Any citizens' comments, Ryan?
Let me take a peek. Let's see, I've got nothing on YouTube. And let me see if Facebook's working. It wasn't available initially. Facebook's not registering, but there are no comments on YouTube.
Thank you very much. With that, Zach, if you would, please.
All right, when I call your name, please signify your vote by saying approve or deny. Jackson Bogan.
Approve. One real quick thing here, Zach. Do we need to do a vote for bonding as well?
There's no bonding spelled out on the written ballot, so these votes are going to be just to approve both items on the resolution.
Thank you. Approve.
Thank you for clarifying that, though. Jackson Bogan, that was an approve. Carl Griffin.
Approve.
Jerry Reynolds.
Approve.
Gary Schroeder.
Approve.
Larry Leverance.
Approve.
Tom Murtaugh. Absent. Greg Jones.
Approve.
6 votes in favor. You do have a written ballot on this, so please track down that email. It looks like it was from Tuesday, I believe, and fill that out and get it to Don. Thank you.
Email was sent from Diana at 8:50 on Tuesday. Don, if you'd let us know when they're received.
We're almost there. We have 6 responses, all for approval.
Thank you, sir. On to the public hearing portion, where I will now read some procedures. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the Commission would like you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we are only concerned as to whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make comments or provide us with the information regarding any subdivision petitions will be given the opportunity to do so. We are a 7-member body, and a majority of 7 is 4, regardless of how many commissioners are actually present. At least 4 votes in favor or 4 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 4 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, that case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. When addressing the Commission, please state your name and address for the record. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes, and we ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. Cell phones must be silenced or turned off while the meeting is in session. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room before doing so. All exhibits presented to the Commission become the property of the Commission.
I move that there be, are you ready for me, Jackson?
Yes, sir. All you.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application be heard this evening and become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendations on the applications be heard this evening, and responses from the checkpoint agencies.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? That carries.
I move to continue S 4963 Casabella Minor Subdivision Minor Sketch to the December 16th, 2020 Area Plan Commission meeting.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. On to subdivisions.
I move to hear and vote on S 4958 Moulter 4 Subdivision Minor Sketch.
Second.
Kathy.
Okay, petitioner's property is located on the east side of County Road 200 East. The property is zoned agricultural. It's actually a 40-acre parent tract. There have been two lot parcelizations been filed with us, hasn't been approved at this point. But with that 2-lot parcelization and this 2-lot minor subdivision, it will use up all of the development rights within this 40-acre parent tract. Here's a look at the sketch plan. Petitioner also plans on filing a rural estate subdivision. That, of course, requires a rezone as well as a major subdivision, and that has not been filed yet. But you can see this private drive. That's the reason we've got this huge private drive for just these 2 lots. That will be the drive used for the rural estate. There's a no vehicular access statement platted along the frontage of the county road, so both lots will use the private drive as access. County Health Department is requiring a drainage easement, so this access easement is also a drainage easement. And there are 6 conditions of approval, and we are recommending conditional primary approval.
Thank you, Kathy. With that, anyone wishing to speak on this? Petitioner? Excuse me, let me start. Sally, I'm sorry. Is any petitioner wishing or representative wanting to speak on behalf of this? Hearing none. Now, I believe you said you have somebody in the room wishing to speak?
Would you folks like to speak? Okay, there are no speakers from the room.
Okay. And I skipped over our wonderful members. Do any of them have any questions, comments? Okay. With that, we'll wait for 30 seconds.
Can we make that a minute, Jackson? We got some comments that we're having a lag on Facebook of about 30 seconds.
Absolutely. 1 minute it is. Thank you for that.
Well, while we're waiting, maybe a technical question on that, Gary here. I've had some people mention to me that this area is fairly wet and water stands, and we might have had some comments about maybe it was this case or a different case before. At what point does this need to go to the drainage board for approval? Is that just the rural estate, or is there anything prior to that? I think the staff report indicated they needed some maybe curtain drains or something.
Right. So the health department has tested the soils in the area, or the soils have been tested, and that report turned into the health department, and they are requiring a drainage easement because of a high water table. But also the surveyor's office looks at drainage, and we have to have their approval before we can record the final plat.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, good question. Thank you. Any comments, Ryan? Ryan, are you on mute?
Sorry about that. Yeah, just a second. Let me check.
Oh, you're good.
Let's see. Yes, we have one comment from a Patrick Harper. It reads, I'm concerned about the impact this will have on the roadway and utilities in the area. 200 East is caving in north of 700 South, and the utilities are limited. And that's a comment on YouTube. That's all we have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harper. With that, we will, any questions or anything else more from the commission? We'll go ahead and call.
We've got a gentleman with a question in the room. He's moving to the laptop so you can see and hear him.
Okay.
Hello, Mike Ham. Just questioning what would be going around the cul-de-sac area. I mean, what I see the two tracks here, the two parcelization. What is the rest of the property there?
So it's my understanding that petitioner is going to be filing a rural estate subdivision. A rural estate has a maximum of 12 lots. But he has to rezone the property before a rural estate could be done. So there will be plenty of opportunity for public comment during the rezoning phase.
So potentially 12 houses.
12 in addition to these two and the two for the parcelization.
Okay.
And Kathy, no application has been made yet, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
So all of these people who are here about this subdivision will get another notification as adjacent property owners.
Yeah, and Sally, I just want to clarify, but what we are discussing here today is what's before us, which is the 4 subdivision, correct?
Well, just
Correct.
2 lots.
Well, 2 lots
Right.
of the, correct.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody in the audience knew that we aren't discussing anything in regards to the 12 lots that may or may not come down the road. That's not before us today.
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, that minute's up. Any other questions?
Jackson, we have a follow-up comment from Mr. Harper on YouTube.
Okay.
It reads, people accessing this property would need to travel that road and it's significantly degraded. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Zach, if you would, please.
All right, when I call your name, please signify your vote. Jackson Bogan,
Approve.
Carl Griffin,
Approve.
Jerry Reynolds,
Approve.
Gary Schroeder,
Approve.
Larry Leverance,
Approve.
Tom Murtaugh absent, Greg Jones,
Approve.
and you do have a ballot on this as well, so please get those to Don. Thank you.
We have 6 responses, all for approval.
Thank you, Don. On to S4959.
I move to hear and vote on S 4959 Bluffs of Buck Creek subdivision minor sketch.
Second.
Kathy?
Okay, petitioner's property is located on the north side of County Road 450 North. It is just north of the Hoosier Heartland and further west from the town of Buck Creek. It is zoned agricultural, except for a little sliver of floodplain zoning. You can see there's some general business zoning further to the east at the intersection of State Road 25 and 450 North. Here's a look at the aerial photograph. So you can see there's 2 lots to the west and then about a 600-foot gap and then 2 more lots to the east. Go ahead, there we go. So lots 1 and 2 will share a driveway along the west side of that property. And then lots 3 and 4 well, this is going to be another rural estate like the previous one. The rural estate that's proposed, not filed yet, but proposed, would be to the north and east of lots 3 and 4. So you can sort of see that private driveway just to the east of lots 3 and 4. That will be access for the proposed rural estate. There's no houses on the property. There is a barn on lot 4 and a house just to the east that's currently being renovated. So there are 8 conditions of approval, all of them standard, and we are recommending conditional primary approval.
Thank you, Kathy. Petitioner's representative, have any comments? Okay, any questions from the commission? And Sally, do we have anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
It's Mr. Mark Roush of 5324 North, 600 East.
Should be able to talk now.
I'd like to express my concern with the subdivisions in the area. They cause more traffic and noise and increase my property value, that causes my taxes to go up. I prefer not to have them, but I suppose that's the way it's going to go. That's all I've got.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Roush. With that, is there any follow-up questions from the commission? And Ryan, we'll go ahead and pause for that minute of public comment via our social media outlet.
Okay.
Okay, Ryan.
Okay, appears to be no comment on this item.
Thank you. Zach, if you would, please.
All right, when I call your name, please signify your vote. Jackson Bogan,
Approve.
Carl Griffin,
Approve.
Jerry Reynolds,
Approve.
Gary Schroeder,
Approve.
Larry Leverins.
Approve.
Tom Murtaugh, absent. Greg Jones,
Approve.
6 votes in favor. Please get your written ballot to Don. Thank you.
We have 6 responses, all for approval.
Thank you, Don. Approval of the no new cases, review and approval of the November budget.
I move we approve the November budget report as submitted.
Second.
Sally?
Only 2 things of note to explain under the expenditures this month's column. If you look at office supplies general, there's $947.16. We do this every year. At the end of the year, we renew our supplies for the coming year, which is what that represents. And then the next line, printing and signs for purchase. We usually have enough money in every budget to purchase 2 sets of signs. Diane keeps a really close inventory, whether it's rezoning signs for Lafayette or subdivision signs or BZA signs for the county, whichever is the lowest in inventory is what we buy. And we have enough to do 2 sets. So that's what that represents, around 100 signs for 2 different kinds of cases.
And just to reiterate, Sally, if I recall, this is something we do every year as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
That's something you do on an annual basis as well.
That's correct.
Yep. Okay, good. Any questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We have no new business. Gary, we would take that.
I move to adjourn.
So moved. Over to you, Larry.
Thank you. Zach, you want to wait a couple minutes? Yeah, let's give it till 5:03 or so, and then we'll get started. Okay.
This is Chad. Could somebody on the AP staff forward me the go-to meeting for BZA later?
I'll send that to you, Chad. This is Rupita.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Larry, I think we should be good whenever you're ready. Okay, Zach, thank you. I'll go ahead and call to order the December 2nd meeting of the APC Ordinance Committee. Let's start out. Zach, you want to call roll on that one, please? Sure thing. When I call your name, please signify your presence. Gary Schroeder.
Present.
Jackson Bogan.
Present.
Vicky Pearl, absent. Tom Murtaugh, absent. Jerry Reynolds,
Here.
Carl Griffin.
Here.
Greg Jones.
Here.
Larry Leverance.
Here.
We do have a quorum. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Zach. First of all, approval of the November 4th meeting. Motion and a second on that, please.
I move to approve the minutes from the November 4th meeting, November 4th, 2020 meeting as submitted.
Second.
Any additions or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carried. Our issue tonight is follow up on the solar energy systems amendment. You have in your packet not only the changes in that amendment or the amendment, but you also have a memo regarding an ad hoc committee meeting that was had on November 4th, as the memo says, to discuss an equitable surety for removing solar energy systems. Rabita, will you want to follow up on that, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, finally. It's been a long day trying to figure out the technology here. Good evening, everyone. As the result of discussion at the ad hoc committee meeting on November 17, staff has, we have prepared a few changes in addition to the proposed solar energy system ordinance. And there are 8 major sort of addition and change that you will see in the ordinance that was sent out last week. Let's see here. So we've added that surety must be in form acceptable to APC staff, legal counsel, and AOs. A mandatory pre-submission meeting involving the applicant and the property owner is required prior to submission of special exception request or ILP application. A certification of cost estimate by a professional engineer. Recordation of the approved decommissioning plan. Both property owner and the applicant are added as the responsible party to fulfill the requirements of the recorded decommissioning plan. We've removed the decommissioning requirement for community scale solar energy system when utilized by institutional uses. And we added an example of a cost estimate table with the minimum required items for decommissioning and SES. The last item is the one that we are still working on. We will be adding surety templates, which we borrowed from Unified Subdivision Ordinance, and we are hoping to revise it to fit the decommissioning plan. And that will be added to the ordinance. So if you see on your screen, the top seven sections are same as what I presented last time. The only new item is section 8, which is the appendix section of USO, where we will be including all the decommissioning documents, including surety templates and example of cost estimate table. And I'll be happy to answer any additional question you may have. We have included everything that was discussed at the ad hoc committee. And I also want to mention that I received additional community feedback from few members of the community, which I have included in the proposed ordinance. Steve Clevenger sent me quite a few lists of items, which I hope I have addressed through the new ordinance. And Lindsay Payne also has been in contact with me about some of the sections in the ordinance. So we've been trying to clarify a few things, not necessarily the changes to the ordinance itself, but the interpretation portion of it. And if they are present today, I would be happy to explain any questions they may have.
Okay, thank you, Rabita, and thank you for the work you've done on this. You really, I think, hit the high points of what we talked about, at least in the ad hoc committee. Comments from the committee? Are we ready to send this on in to the January APC meeting?
Larry, this is Greg. I actually had one question.
Okay.
On section 5, on item 2, ground mounted solar energy systems, the maximum height of 15 feet.
Yes.
Rabita, there are a lot of the residential systems that will use a tracking array, which is mounted on a single pole typically. And, you know, the array might be 9 to a dozen panels, probably at the largest, and they will follow the sun. They'll track from east to west. And those typically, I believe, are going to reach a higher height than 15 feet, maybe as much as 20 feet.
Have you seen these as an accessory, or are you referring to large solar farms where they are generated primarily to be sold at a wholesale market?
This is typically on a residential level.
Okay. Let me do additional research on that, because in all my research, or in all our research, we didn't find any system, or at least within the limits of our research, we didn't find a system that would go higher than 15 feet. And that particular number also came from the model solar ordinance that Indiana was working on at the time. And I think that was the reason why we were comfortable going with that 15 feet requirement. But based on what you just said, I would be happy to take a second look in terms of the height for that particular type of the system, and I'll report back to you.
And Rabita, I've got a couple of resources. I've got 15 or 20 years of Home Power magazine, which has we'll have a lot of examples of that, so I'll look through that.
Would you be kind enough to share that with me?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gary
Thanks,
here.
Greg. Go ahead, Gary.
Gary, is that 15 feet a standard that they could get a variance on if we didn't change it to 20, or is that set in stone?
They could get a variance on that requirement because it's in section 4.
Okay. So if we
Any other
send this,
questions?
yes,
Go
if we
ahead,
send this on, excuse me, yeah, Gary here, if we send that on and there seems to be some evidence that 20 may be more appropriate, do we change that at the full plan commission? Is that, or are we gonna let this ride another month?
I think you could easily change it at full plan if that was the consensus. At that point, it's almost, a design or scrivener's error. So I think, the best of both worlds is probably to send it on while Rebecca does that research. And then if there was a need for additional time to look into it, I guess you could postpone things. But if that's the only thing we're worried about, it certainly could be amended if we wanted to change it at full plan commission.
Okay, very good. I had a question for Greg Jones. And Greg, as you kind of monitor that, solar systems in your magazines, is the trend that they get bigger and larger and taller, or as technology do they seem to get shorter?
The panels are getting larger, much larger. It used to be a 120 watt panel 10 years ago was a large panel. Then they went 150, and then they went 200. But these tracking arrays, they're gonna catch wind and those type of things. So I think there's a maximum. Like I said, what I've seen 9 to 12 panels, but I haven't seen a tracking array with the larger panels. So I'll do a little bit of research myself in the next couple of days, so I can get back with Rebecca before the next general meeting.
Okay.
This is Sally. When you say the panels are getting larger, they're getting larger in wattage, but are they, which is what I think you said, but are they
Both.
getting larger in size?
Actually, both. I mean, not twice as large, but they are larger. I mean, they're getting more out of less, but the panels still are getting slightly larger.
Greg, with that, do you see any of the measurements, any of the requirements in this ordinance that in the near future seem out of line?
To be honest, I don't really know. Only what I've seen in the past. But like I said, I'll try to do here in the next couple of days a little more research. I haven't done that much looking at it in say the last few months, and it is always changing.
Sure. Okay, I would like to see this go to the January full APC meeting. If something comes up that we need some major changes or we need some, to amend this, then we can do it either there or we can delay it. But does anyone object to that?
No, and I'll make a motion if you're ready for it, Larry.
Thank you.
I move that we send the Solar Energy Systems Ordinance to the December full area plan commission meeting.
January meeting.
January meeting, thank you.
Thank you.
January 2021 meeting.
Second. Do I have a second?
Second. Jackson.
Thank you. All right, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. Anything else we need to do on this, Rebecca or Sally, at this point? Rebecca, you'll have forms also by that time?
Yes, I hope so. I will
Okay.
send out a little email with nudges to the folks that we are hoping to get some resources. So we send it to some of our members, community members who have expertise in that field to give us some guidelines to revise the forms. So I'll send out a quick note to them and see if I can get some response before the meeting in January. Would you guys like to take a look at the forms? I'll be happy to email it to the whole committee. if you guys are interested prior to the APC meeting.
These are just the forms for bonding for letters of credit and for surety by deposit.
Right.
They aren't forms for applications or anything like that. And they were sent to Plan Commission members, not community members. Plan Commission members that have expertise in these areas.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think I need them.
Okay.
But if anybody
It
wants
is
them,
it's just a standard form.
right. Okay.
Well, I'd
Okay.
like to thank everybody for your patience as we work through this, and we've had a lot of input for this section of the ordinance from community members as well as the entire committee, ordinance committee and APC committee as well. So we are very thankful, and thank you for spending your valuable time to review this with us.
Well, thank you for working on it too. You put in a lot of time as well. And we're getting it moved along finally.
It was our pleasure.
Any citizens' comments? You want to give a minute or so and see if there are any citizens' comments?
Sure thing, we'll do.
Start a timing in case Jackson hasn't. We're at the minute mark.
And there's no further public comment.
Very good. With that, unless someone else has any comments, Gary, I will entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Sally, we did it. You have plenty of time now.
We do. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. We'll see you in a couple weeks.